The neon lights of New Genesis City bathed the evening in a surreal glow as Jake navigated the crowded streets toward the Interstellar Cultural Exchange Pavilion. As a linguist specializing in xenocommunication, the opportunity to meet beings from another star system was a thrill he couldn't resist. Today was particularly special. It was the first public introduction of the Pleiadians, a species known for their vivid emotions and unique social interactions. Upon entering the pavilion, Jake met his colleague, Marcus, a cultural anthropologist. Together, they approached the designated area for the Pleiadians, anticipation buzzing between them. "Think they'll be much different from us?" Marcus asked, adjusting his glasses. "From what I've read, they're expressive and almost art-like in their communication. It's not just words. It's about the entire presentation," Jake explained, his eyes scanning the crowd for their new guests. As they turned a corner, they stopped in their tracks. There she was, Isla, with her shimmering skin and eyes that seemed to dance with a spectrum of colors unseen in any human. She was conversing animatedly with her peers, her hands moving gracefully through the air. "Let's not stare too long, eh?" Marcus chuckled, nudging Jake. They approached slowly, waiting for a break in the conversation. Jake cleared his throat slightly, catching Isla's attention. "Hello, I'm Jake, and this is Marcus. We're quite excited to meet you and learn about your culture." Isla's face lit up with a radiant smile. "Greetings, Jake and Marcus. I am Isla. It's a pleasure to meet beings so keen on cultural exchanges." Marcus, ever the direct one, jumped in. "We've heard about your expressive nature. Can you show us some basic gestures or phrases from your language?" "Of course," Isla replied, her voice melodious. "In our culture, this gesture," she moved her arms in a flowing motion, "signifies a warm welcome, one that embraces the soul." Jake mimicked the gesture, albeit a bit clumsily. "Am I doing this right?" he asked, looking to Isla for approval. "You have the essence of it. With a bit more fluidity, you'll speak like a native," she laughed, her amusement creating a light atmosphere. Encouraged, Marcus tried next, earning an approving nod from Isla. "What about expressions of friendship or camaraderie?" he inquired. Isla demonstrated a different sequence of movements, slower and more deliberate. "This is how we express deep respect and friendship. It's reserved for those we feel a profound connection with." As they practiced, Jake felt a genuine connection forming, their initial interactions blossoming into something resembling friendship. He was fascinated not only by the language but also by Isla herself. Her enthusiasm and openness were infectious. "I would love to show you more about our ways of communication, perhaps over a meal? We could exchange not just words, but also tastes of our worlds," Isla suggested, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "That sounds wonderful," Jake responded. "We have a place known for its variety. I think it would be a perfect setting." As they left the pavilion together, the cool night air felt alive with possibilities. Walking alongside Isla, with Marcus contributing amusing anecdotes, Jake realized that this evening might just be the beginning of something extraordinary. "Tonight is about learning and sharing," Jake said, as they approached the restaurant, the city lights reflecting in Isla's wide, eager eyes. "Let's make it memorable." Isla nodded, her expression one of delighted anticipation. "I am ready to experience everything your culture has to offer," she declared, stepping into the human world that awaited her exploration. The ambience of Cosmic Bistro, known for its intergalactic cuisine, offered the perfect backdrop for cultural exchange. As they settled into their seats, the dim lighting casting soft shadows around the room, Jake, Marcus, and Isla prepared to dive into both conversation and cuisine. "I'm intrigued by your human dishes," Isla started, her eyes scanning the menu illuminated by soft, pulsating lights. "What do you recommend?" Marcus, with a grin, pointed to a few items. "You must try the Martian mousse. It's not from Mars, but it's a hit with newcomers. Light, fluffy, and a bit otherworldly." Jake nodded in agreement, then turned to Isla. "And for a main course, the quantum quiche is fantastic. It's like a taste of different Earth cultures in every bite." Isla seemed delighted by the suggestions. "And for my world, I'd recommend the Helixian hum, a dish that literally dances on the tongue. It's all about sensation and response." As the waiter came by to take their order, The trio discussed the nuances of their respective languages and cuisines, finding humor and fascination in the differences and similarities. So, Isla, how do humans fare when trying to learn your language? Jake asked curiously. It can be challenging, Isla admitted, her voice warm with a teasing tone. Our language involves the entire body. It's about movement, not just sound. For instance, a slight tilt of the head can change a sentence's meaning entirely. Marcus chuckled. I might end up insulting someone without realizing it then. Isla laughed, a melodious sound that drew smiles from nearby tables. I'll guide you through it. Perhaps we can start with some basic phrases tonight. The food arrived, a colorful array of dishes from both Earth and Isla's planet. As they sampled each other's recommendations, Isla guided them through simple phrases, correcting their posture and the angles of their gestures with gentle hands. Like this? Jake asked, attempting a complex hand motion. Exactly like that. Isla clapped, her face alight with excitement. You're a natural. As the meal progressed, so did their comfort with each other. The conversation flowed from cultural practices to personal anecdotes. Jake shared stories of his travels to different human colonies, while Marcus recounted his field studies in remote Earth locations. Isla, in turn, described her planet's vast libraries and the value they placed on knowledge and exchange. Learning about each other's cultures enriches us, Marcus noted, a content smile playing on his lips as he took another bite of the Helixian hum. It does, Isla agreed, and it builds bridges where there were none. The night wore on, and the restaurant began to empty, but their conversation showed no signs of slowing down. They moved from the dining table to a more comfortable lounge area, sipping on galactic teas that sparkled faintly in the dim light. Jake leaned back, feeling a profound sense of connection. This has been an amazing evening. I feel like we've shared more than just food, but parts of ourselves. Isla nodded, her expression thoughtful. Sharing a meal is considered sacred on my planet. It's a way to become part of each other's lives. As they finally prepared to leave, Marcus stood and stretched. Well, I think we managed to travel the universe right here from our seats. Indeed, Isla responded, standing as well, and I look forward to many more journeys together. Jake and Marcus escorted Isla back to her temporary residence, the streets quiet and the city lights reflecting softly in their eyes. As they said their goodnights, it was clear that the bonds formed tonight would extend beyond mere friendship, enriched by the deep dive into each other's worlds. After their enlightening dinner, Jake invited Isla and Marcus to visit one of the city's oldest parks, renowned for its historical monuments and serene landscape. The park, under the canopy of stars and amidst softly glowing pathlights, offered a picturesque setting for their continuing cultural exchange. As they walked along the cobblestone paths, Isla's curiosity about human customs seemed to deepen. You mentioned courtship earlier, she said to Jake. How do humans express their interest in one another? Jake chuckled softly, finding the topic both familiar and slightly daunting to explain. Well, it can be quite complex. It often starts with simple gestures, like offering compliments or small gifts. Marcus joined in, eager to share his perspective. Yes, and sometimes it involves grander gestures, like writing poems or preparing a special meal. It varies a lot from person to person. Could you show me? Isla asked, her tone earnest. Jake nodded, looking around. Spotting a cluster of night-blooming flowers, he led Isla over. For instance, picking a flower and giving it to someone can be a sign of affection. He carefully selected a delicate blossom and presented it to Isla with a small bow. Isla, may I offer you this flower as a token of friendship and as a way to show you a simple human courtship gesture? Isla's eyes lit up as she accepted the flower. It's beautiful, Jake. Thank you. I understand this symbolizes care and attention. As they continued walking, Marcus suggested demonstrating another custom. Jake, why not show Isla the human way of dancing? It's a big part of our courtship rituals in many cultures. Great idea, Jake agreed. They found a more secluded spot near a softly humming fountain, and Jake pulled up a song on his mobile device, offering his hand to Isla. May I have this dance? With a nod, Isla took his hand, and Jake led her through a simple waltz, guiding her steps gently. Dancing can be a way to connect, to feel in tune with another person, he explained as they moved to the music. This closeness, Isla observed. It feels very harmonious, very intimate. It is, Marcus added, watching them. It's about sharing personal space and a rhythm, creating a moment that's just for the two people involved. As the song ended, they paused, sharing a smile in the quiet night. This is quite informative, Isla said. On my planet, our dances are more individual, a display rather than a shared experience. They resumed their walk, and Jake decided to delve a bit deeper into emotional connections. Human courtship isn't just about what we do, but what we say. Sharing feelings, being open about one's thoughts and hopes, that's also a big part of it. Like this evening, Marcus chimed in, sharing our thoughts and learning about each other's cultures. Exactly, Jake affirmed. It's about building trust and understanding. Their walk took them back to the entrance of the park. I feel I've learned much about human expressions of affection tonight, Isla remarked, still holding the flower gently. Your ways are different, but there's a beauty in the sincerity and the subtlety of these gestures. As they said their goodbyes, Jake felt a sense of accomplishment. Not only had he shared a piece of human culture, but he had also deepened his understanding of Isla's reactions and her people's expressions. Marcus waved them off with a promise of another get-together soon. Thank you for this evening, Isla said warmly. I look forward to our next lesson. Likewise, Jake replied, watching her silhouette recede into the night, the flower still in her hand, a symbol of their growing friendship and understanding. After a series of cultural explorations, Jake decided to invite Isla and Marcus over to his apartment for an informal gathering to dive deeper into human everyday life. The night was young, and the city lights shimmered outside Jake's large windows, casting a cozy glow over the living room where they gathered. Welcome to my humble abode, Jake greeted, ushering his friends inside. I thought tonight we could just relax, share some stories, and maybe even play some human board games. Marcus, who had brought a selection of craft beers from Earth, smiled as he placed them on the table. I'm all in for games, but first, how about we toast to our new friendships? Isla, intrigued by the array of bottles, asked, is sharing drinks also a part of human bonding? It certainly is, Jake replied, opening the beers and pouring them into glasses. It's about sharing what we enjoy and spending quality time together. As they clinked glasses, Isla took a tentative sip, her face lighting up with surprise. This is quite flavorful. It's different from our beverages, but I like it. With the ice broken, Jake introduced the board game of the night, a strategy game that involved a lot of negotiation and deception. This game is called Galactic Conquerors. It's about exploring and settling in the galaxy. Think of it as a fun way to engage in some friendly competition. As they played, the room filled with laughter and playful banter. Isla quickly grasped the rules and proved to be a formidable opponent. Is deception a common strategy in human games? She asked, her eyes twinkling with mischief. Only in some, Marcus chuckled. It's all in good fun, though. No hard feelings at the end of the game. The evening wore on, filled with shared stories of their childhoods, their planets, and amusing anecdotes. Jake spoke of his first trip to an off-world colony, a tale filled with minor misadventures and learning experiences. Marcus recounted a humorous incident involving a misunderstood cultural gesture during one of his field studies. Isla listened intently, then shared her own story about a traditional coming-of-age ceremony on her planet, which involved a silent meditation under the stars for an entire night. It was one of the most profound experiences of my life, she explained. It sounds beautiful, Jake mused. It's fascinating how our cultures can be so different yet share similar rites of passage. As the night drew to a close, Jake brought out a dessert, a homemade chocolate cake. I read that chocolate was universally appreciated, so I thought I'd share some of Earth's finest. Isla tasted the cake, and her expression was one of pure joy. This is delicious. You must teach me how to make it. I'd be glad to, Jake replied. Next time, you can show us something from your culinary traditions. Deal, Isla agreed, smiling warmly. They ended the night with a plan to meet again, each encounter deepening their understanding and appreciation of each other's worlds. As they said their goodbyes, Isla thanked them for an evening of warmth and camaraderie. Thank you, Jake, Marcus, for making me feel so welcome here," she said, her voice filled with genuine appreciation. "Our pleasure," Marcus responded. "It's been great having you with us." As the door closed behind her, Jake felt a sense of contentment. These gatherings not only bridged worlds, but also built a foundation of friendship that he valued deeply. As he cleaned up, he thought about the next gathering, looking forward to continuing this journey of intercultural and interstellar friendship. The city was quiet as Jake prepared his apartment for another evening with Isla and Marcus, but tonight was to be more intimate and personal. After their previous gatherings, Jake felt a closer bond had formed, and he wanted to explore that further. He had planned a special dinner, hoping to share more of his world and learn about Isla's in a deeper, more meaningful way. As the doorbell rang, Jake opened the door to find Isla and Marcus, each carrying an item from their own cultures. Marcus brought a vintage earth wine, and Isla, a rare spice from her home planet, to add to the meal. "Welcome back." Jake greeted them warmly. "Tonight, I thought we'd share stories about our favorite traditions." "That sounds wonderful," Isla replied, handing Jake the exotic spice. "This is from my home. It's used in our most sacred meals. I thought it might add a unique flavor to whatever you have planned." "Thank you, Isla. I'm sure it'll make the meal even more special," Jake said, leading them into the kitchen where the aromas of cooking food filled the air. Marcus uncorked the wine and poured each of them a glass. "To good food, great company, and even better stories," he toasted. They clinked glasses and sipped the wine, its rich, earthy notes blending perfectly with the spicy scent emanating from the stove. Jake served up a dish he had spent the afternoon preparing, a slow-cooked stew that was a staple during his childhood. As they began to eat, Jake started the conversation. "This dish reminds me of family gatherings back on Earth. It's simple but filled with memories. What about you, Isla? Is there a dish that brings back memories for you?" Isla took a bite, her face lighting up with the added spice she had brought. "Yes, we have a dish called Galactic stew. It's made with the roots of a plant native to my planet, and it's eaten during our New Star Festival. It's a time when families gather to watch the stars realign, which happens once every 5 years." "That sounds beautiful," Marcus said, visibly moved by the idea of a celestial celebration. The conversation shifted to Marcus, who shared his experience with traditional Earth festivals. "I love the lantern festival we have in Asia. There's something magical about watching thousands of lanterns float up into the sky, each one carrying someone's hopes and dreams." The evening progressed with each sharing tales from their respective cultures, the warmth of the apartment making the outside world seem distant and unimportant. The stories brought them closer, weaving their different backgrounds into a tapestry of shared human and alien experience. After the meal, Jake suggested they end the evening with a classic human pastime: storytelling. "Let's each tell a story from our culture, something that means a lot to us." Isla went first, recounting a legend about a Pleiadian explorer who discovered new worlds and bridged galaxies with her courage. Her story was filled with adventures and mythical creatures, painting a vivid picture of Pleiadian values of bravery and exploration. Marcus followed with a tale of an earthling who traveled the seas, his narrative rich with details of the ocean and the spirit of discovery that defined human exploration. Finally, Jake shared a more personal story, one of his grandfather, an astronaut who had been part of humanity's first journey to Mars. "He taught me that exploration isn't just about new planets, but also about exploring and understanding each other," Jake concluded, his voice filled with reverence. As the night came to an end, Isla, Marcus, and Jake sat in a comfortable silence, each lost in thought from the stories shared. "Thank you for this evening," Isla said softly. "I feel like I've seen a part of your souls tonight." "And we of yours," Marcus added, the mutual feeling of connection palpable in the room. They agreed to meet again soon, each encounter drawing them closer not just to each other's worlds, but also to the universal experiences that bound them across time and space. As they departed, the bonds of friendship were stronger, the night a memorable milestone in their journey of cultural exchange and understanding. In the soft glow of the morning, Jake and Marcus decided to invite Isla to a human cultural workshop designed to deepen interstellar relationships through more hands-on activities. The workshop was hosted in a community center nearby, a place filled with art, music, and various creative expressions of human culture. Today should be fun, Marcus said as they walked toward the center. We're going to learn about each other's artistic expressions. I hope you're ready to get a bit creative, Isla. I'm looking forward to it, Isla replied, her eyes bright with anticipation. Art is a universal language, isn't it? As they entered the workshop, the instructor, a friendly middle-aged man named Leo, greeted them warmly. Welcome. Today, we're going to explore one of humanity's oldest forms of communication, painting. Each of you will create something that represents your heritage. Leo provided them with canvases, paints, and brushes, setting them up at easels spaced around the room. Think about a symbol or scene from your culture that is meaningful to you, he advised as he walked around, offering tips and encouragement. Isla chose vibrant colors, her brush strokes bold and fluid, depicting a Pleiadian landscape bathed in the light of her world's twin suns. This is a place where we gather to celebrate our annual festival of lights, she explained to Jake and Marcus, who watched in fascination. Marcus, inspired by the maritime stories he shared the previous night, painted a dynamic seascape, the waves crashing against a sturdy lighthouse. This represents the human spirit of adventure and our connection to the sea. Jake decided to illustrate something personal, a serene space seen showing Earth from the perspective of the moon, a subtle tribute to his grandfather's stories. This shows where I come from and how small our world really is in the vastness of space. As they painted, Leo encouraged them to discuss their works, leading to deeper conversations about their individual lives and cultures. Isla was particularly interested in the human connection to art as a form of historical record. Is all human art a reflection of the past? She asked. Not all, but much of it is inspired by our history, or our hopes for the future, Jake responded. It can also be a way to express personal or collective emotions. The workshop continued with a session on music, where they listened to and discussed various human and alien compositions. Isla shared a haunting melody from her planet, explaining, "This song is played when we reach adulthood. It signifies our readiness to contribute to our society." Marcus showed a piece of classical Earth music, its complexities weaving a tapestry of sounds that intrigued Isla. "It's beautiful how humans can create such harmony from diversity," she noted. As the day concluded, they gathered their artworks, each piece a new window into the artist's world. Leo complimented their efforts, stressing the importance of art in understanding and celebrating different cultures. "Thank you, Leo, for this enlightening experience," Isla said as they prepared to leave. Today was a profound reminder of how art can connect souls from across galaxies. Jake and Marcus agreed, both feeling that the day had brought them closer to Isla. "Let's keep this tradition going," Jake suggested. "Next time, maybe we can explore Pleiadian art forms." "That sounds wonderful," Isla responded, her smile as bright as the painted suns on her canvas. As they left the center, the three friends discussed plans for their next gathering, each session building on the last, their friendship deepening through shared experiences and mutual curiosity. As evening descended on the city, Jake invited Isla to join him at his apartment for a quieter, more intimate gathering. They had shared meals, stories, and art, but tonight felt different. Marcus, noticing their growing closeness, suggested he sit this one out, giving them the space to connect on a more personal level. Jake prepared a simple dinner, one that reminded him of home, a comforting stew with herbs from Earth, served with fresh bread and a bottle of wine he'd been saving. When Isla arrived, she seemed more at ease than usual, her usual vibrancy softened by the warm glow of the room's ambient lights. "Thank you for inviting me, Jake," she said, her voice gentle as she took in the welcoming atmosphere. "It feels very personal here." "That's the idea," Jake replied with a small smile. "I wanted tonight to be special, just for us to talk, to relax. No agenda." They sat at the dining table, and as they ate, their conversation flowed effortlessly. They spoke of their recent experiences, shared the subtleties of their cultures, and delved into questions they hadn't dared to ask before. "Isla," Jake began, his tone contemplative, "do Pleiadians feel love in the way humans do? That kind of deep affection for another?" Isla looked thoughtful, her eyes glinting with interest. "We do, though it's expressed differently. On my planet, love is celebrated, but we don't speak of it as openly as you do here. We share it through gestures and actions rather than words." Jake nodded, understanding. That makes sense. Sometimes actions can say more than words. After they finished eating, Jake moved them to a cozy couch near the window, where they could see the city lights twinkling against the night sky. He poured 2 glasses of wine, handing one to Isla, who accepted it with a curious smile. "This is a very earthly ritual," she remarked, studying the glass. "Drinking and talking late into the night. Sometimes, it's the best way to truly get to know someone," Jake replied, raising his glass in a toast. "To new friendships, and maybe something more." They clinked glasses, and Isla took a sip, her eyes never leaving his. "I think," she began softly, "that I have come to understand more about human connection than I expected." Jake's gaze was steady, his voice a gentle murmur. "And I think I've learned more about myself because of you." There was a pause, a moment where words seemed unnecessary, the silence filled with an unspoken understanding. Tentatively, Jake reached out, his fingers brushing against hers. Isla's hand, warm and delicate, responded, intertwining with his. She moved closer, her gaze locked on his, both curious and daring. "Is this how it begins?" she whispered. "It can," Jake replied, his voice barely audible. They leaned into each other, their breaths mingling as their faces drew closer. Jake's hand traced a line along her arm, a gentle exploration, while Isla's fingers rested on his cheek, her touch light and tentative. Their lips met, a soft and lingering kiss that seemed to hold all the words they hadn't said, all the questions and discoveries of their journey together. When they finally pulled back, Isla's eyes shone with a mix of awe and excitement. "Human make the Nympho alien girl go crazy," she murmured, her voice a playful echo of her feelings. Jake chuckled, his heart pounding. "Then let's see just how much more we can discover together." The rest of the night unfolded in a series of quiet conversations, tender touches, and shared silences, each moment bringing them closer in a way that felt both familiar and completely new. As dawn approached, they fell asleep wrapped in each other's arms, content in the simple joy of having found something extraordinary in the vastness of the universe. The morning sunlight spilled through the window, casting a warm glow over Jake's apartment. He and Isla sat on the couch, savoring the quiet comfort of each other's presence, but a lingering feeling of bittersweetness hung in the air. Today was the last day of Isla's cultural exchange on Earth, and both of them knew that parting was inevitable. Jake broke the silence, his voice low. "So, this is it, huh? You'll be heading back to your planet soon?" Isla nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Yes. My people are waiting for my report on Earth and its people. They don't know yet about everything I've come to feel here." Jake looked down, unsure of how to say what he wanted. "Isla, I never expected this. I thought you'd be just another colleague, another exchange. But now, it feels like I'm losing a part of myself." Isla reached out, placing her hand over his. "Jake, you've shown me more about humanity than I could have ever learned from books or briefings. And more than that, you've shown me a part of myself I didn't know existed." They sat in silence for a moment, both grappling with the reality of her departure. Finally, Jake took a deep breath. "What if I visited your planet? I could apply for the interstellar exchange program." Isla's face lit up with hope, though there was a trace of sadness in her eyes. "You would do that? For us?" Jake nodded firmly. "I would. Whatever this is between us, it's worth exploring. I want to see your world, Isla. I want to be part of it. If you want that too." She smiled softly, her fingers tracing gentle circles on his hand. "I do want that, but we'll have to be patient. There are protocols, approvals. My people are cautious with outsiders." "Then we'll wait," Jake replied, determination clear in his tone. "I'll go through any process necessary. Just say the word and I'll be there." Isla leaned in, pressing her forehead gently against his. "Thank you, Jake. I never imagined I would find such a connection across the stars." They spent the rest of the morning together, exchanging stories, laughter, and promises for the future. When it was finally time for Isla to leave, they stood by the door, neither wanting to say goodbye. "Until we meet again," she whispered, her hand lingering on his cheek. "Remember me." Jake pulled her into a tight embrace. "I won't forget, and I'll be counting the days." With a final, tender kiss, Isla stepped out of his apartment, her silhouette fading as she walked down the corridor. Jake watched until she was out of sight, a mixture of longing and hope filling his heart. He knew they would meet again. Somewhere in the vastness of the universe, their paths would cross once more, and their story, though on pause, would continue.